Today on CityCast Pittsburgh, the Penn Avenue bike lane saga has come to a compromise. Pittsburgh officially has its own Walk of Fame, and Batman returned to celebrate, although they now need to fix one teeny tiny piece of it. And if you can't stand the sight of abandoned boats along the North Shore, well, we have got some good news for you. I'm with CityCast's Mallory Falk and Sophia Lo talking about some of the biggest stories of the week. It's Friday, October 24th. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. Hello, y'all. Welcome to Friday. We're here.
Yes,
we made it.
Happy Friday. I'm so excited. It has been a long week for me personally.
I feel like Mallory's giving you a little side eye about that. We had a big week this week. We started out talking about elections because that is coming up November 4th. If you haven't made your plan to vote yet, it is too late to register if you're not, but you can check your registration and your polling place. That's important.
And we talked a little bit about ideas for improving the voting process in Pennsylvania. So if you're interested in what ranked choice voting has in common with Baskin-Robbins, definitely give that one a listen.
Definitely.
And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, we talked to the deputy mayor, Jake Pollack. So he shared a little bit more about Mayor Gainey's draft budget, what their office is saying, and, why they stand by the budget. And then also inclusionary zoning, everyone's favorite housing topic.
Yes, I would say it was Pollack's defense of some of these, his circle tour. There's been a lot of criticism of the budget in particular because a lot of people say the numbers just don't add up. So if you want to hear how the mayor's office is talking about that, check out that episode. And then the housing policy. I don't think we're at the end of that.
I think that debate is going to outlive our current administration.
I think you are right. Although I did hear some scuttlebutt that planning commission meeting could happen as soon as mid-November. So we might be talking about this sooner than later.
Yeah, where they review this modified affordable housing plan. It kind of keeps getting kicked back and forth between city council and the planning commission.
Yeah, so a lot more there. And then on Thursday, we talked about candy.
My favorite, I ate a lot of candy during this trivia little quiz. I did not feel good after.
You got a lot of pity candy, Sophia, because you didn't know the answer to a lot of questions.
Yeah, I think I picked one off the floor, still in its wrapper, but someone dropped something and I was like, mine.
Yeah, you were our little candy ferret over here.
When we were talking specifically about why Pennsylvania is such a candy capital and just how much of your Halloween haul might be made here in the Keystone State.
Yes, very important. But today we're going to talk about a lot of things, but we'll start with city updates, things that are happening kind of behind the scenes, some small stuff, some stuff we've talked about before. Let's begin on Penn Avenue.
Yes. So one debate that has kind of come to a conclusion, I guess, is a compromise, yes. This whole saga over the Penn Avenue bike lane. So in case you've missed all of this, the city wanted to build a bike lane along a stretch of Penn Avenue between 22nd and 31st Streets in the Strip District. We talked about this on the show before. We will drop a link in our show notes to that conversation if you want to get caught up. And if you need some orientation, this is kind of the section where you'd find Dia Noya's and Bar Marco. It starts just after where Yinzer's and Grandpa Joe's candy shop are located. So right now there's 2 lanes of car traffic there, and the idea was to convert one of those traffic lanes into a bike lane.
But the difference was going to be that it was a protected bike lane, so it would have been sidewalk, bike lane, parking, then a traffic lane, then parking on the other side, and back to sidewalk, if you could follow it. Some business owners were not happy about that. They sued over the plan. They requested an injunction to stop the city from proceeding because they said it could cause congestion, affect their businesses, and crucially, that fire trucks would not be able to access the street anymore, which, Mallory, I did so much nerdy digging into this. They were correct. It was not. Yeah. The city was actually in arrears for its own fire code.
Oh, that's not great. Okay.
Yeah, Megan, thank you for your deep dive into all of those various rules and regulations. But, the new news is that, like you mentioned, Megan, the city and the business owners, they reached a compromise so that the bike lane can still get built. The project can still move forward. The city has been out painting lines for the bike lane this week.
Ooh, quick work.
I mean, really quick. That was the problem, right? Like the city started doing all the work even while the injunction got granted and the city was working anyway. So that was part of the drama part.
Yeah.
They must be really excited about this.
Yes. So the road is getting painted. Things are moving forward. But the difference, the compromise is that instead of that bike lane that you described, Megan, that would be protected, now it's an unprotected lane where cars and bikes are biking like side by side.
Yeah, and that was a contention of the injunction request too, because guys, once again, I'm so sorry for that. The Pennsylvania Vehicle Code is so screwed up in this way. Like the injunction request was correct that the city's not allowed to do this. We cannot do it, but it's because I think the code is no good. We are required by law to have people park up next to the curb, and you're not allowed to put a bike lane there. Like, I just think that's so silly.
Oh, I just assumed if there was a parking space, like a designated space, you could park. So it has to be next to the curb.
I think the idea was that, like, so people don't park way out in the street. Like, they have to have their car within 8 to 12 inches of the curb to protect the traffic lane. But it means that we can't have protected bike lanes that are separated by parking. And I understand that the business owners were correct, but I think that's a mess up with Harrisburg. They need to fix that.
I mean, let's be real, though. The city has built protected bike lanes before. Like, a prime example of this is outside of Phipps in Oakland. So they have been able to get away with this before, even if, technically it violates this code. And I mean, personally, I don't love when you're biking and then a car is like crossing over your bike lane to park. You're really relying on that driver to be paying close attention to what they're doing. It is kind of scary. It doesn't feel super safe. Like, I want that protected lane.
I know. I think it's dangerous. They need work on the vehicle code, y'all.
And as to the fire trucks, like, that is solved now too, because now when you have like the bike lane and the car lane side by side, it'll be big enough for emergency vehicles to pass through.
Yeah. If you want to know all the particulars, once again, go check out that old episode. It was fun.
Well, moving on to something that is less controversial, getting rid of all of the boats that have been abandoned along the North Shore, or even if not completely abandoned, they have just been parked up there way longer than they should be.
They are 1,000% a bit of an eyesore. Like, I understand wanting to protect a good parking space. Like, that is part of the identity of this city. But this feels unreasonable.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Until I saw news about this, I didn't really think about this that much because I don't have a boat. Like, they're not in my way. They might be ugly, but didn't know we could do things about it.
Yeah, but they're like right by the bridge and the arenas. Like and the trail is so pretty. It's like one of our best public assets. And then you just have people's personal property just hanging out for months.
I totally hear that. And now it looks like this problem is going to be solved. So right now, the area where these boats get tied up, it's North Shore Riverfront Park. This space is owned by the Sports and Exhibition Authority, and they do not have the power to remove the boats or enforce rules, but the city does have this authority. So council just agreed to buy the park from them for a whole $1.
I think that's hilarious. I love when things get sold for $1. It's always funny every single time.
I feel like the sale price tells you how much of a nuisance these boats were and how much the Sports and Exhibition Authority just wanted this out of their hands.
Totally. Yeah. So according to the sales agreement, the city should officially own the park by the end of the year. So not just yet. And they'll start enforcing rules and towing boats next year. So get your boats out before January if you're one of those people.
I got to imagine people would be coming to get their boats anyway because maybe
the winter,
I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But it's my assumption that most of these boats, because of where they're tied up, are people who want to experience nice nights on the river, Pirates games in particular.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing the thing. It would be as if you were parking a car outside PNC Park to only go to 3 games a week or something, but you leave your car there all the time to block traffic and be an eyesore. That's kind of the comparison I've made in my head because some of these boats are in great shape. They're just party barges. And for some reason, they've decided to park there instead of, and I guess save themselves hundreds of dollars by not needing a marina because they're just leaving their boats out there for the public.
It's kind of like using a boat as a parking chair.
Yeah, totally.
Well, once these rules go into effect, there are going to be some sections of the Riverwalk where you just can't tie up a boat at all.
Good.
So, that takes care of some of that parking chair claiming, I guess. And then there's other sections near the stadiums where you'll be able to moor your boat for up to 48 hours. So just a couple of days.
Which is great. Like, that's plenty of time to see. Like, you could watch an entire weekend worth of games. Like, you could watch all three, like a homestand or something, leave it there the whole time. I get it. Like, you want to preserve your good spot, but like not forever.
And all of this has been made easier because of a new state law. So thank you, Harrisburg, for this one.
Thank you, Pittsburgh, for lobbying for this one.
And this law was passed earlier this summer, and it sort of defines what counts as an abandoned or derelict boat and when law enforcement can step in.
Yeah, I'm curious what the enforcement strategies are going to be here, but I do love this. I mean, gosh, if you've been here a minute, if you follow the Hey Pittsburgh newsletter, you may remember that there was a boat that was actually abandoned and fully sinking into the river for months and months and months back in 2023. And everybody was aware of it, but nobody knew what to do about it because it wasn't clear who had the authority to tow it. So like the Coast Guard was like, we could, but we don't feel like we're allowed. The city was like, we could, but technically we're not allowed. The state talked about it. Like, it was so funny. So I don't know for sure, like 100%, but I think this is a direct result of that issue.
So if you are a boat owner in the state of Pennsylvania, you can thank Pittsburgh for making your life marginally more complicated or just encouraging you to do the right thing.
Speaking of doing the right thing, depending on how you want to interpret this, I think this might be some good news. The Penguins, the team, our hockey team, are giving the development rights for the Lower Hill District back to the city. So the city itself has owned all of this land. It's 28 acres, most of that Lower Hill District neighborhood. But for almost 20 years now, they have controlled basically everything about what could be built there and how it can be treated.
And this area is around where the Civic Arena used to be. So the arena where the Penguins played before PPG Paints was created. It's where F&B Tower, our city's newest skyscraper, is. And then it's also where you've got the spot for the new Live Nation concert venue. That is still in the works.
Yeah, broken ground, but, slow to progress. I mean, I think if you step back, you might ask, why did the Penguins have access to this land to begin with? And all of that goes back to 2007 when the team was threatening to leave the city. I don't know if y'all follow much of that in professional sports, but I feel like this happens a lot where a team wants a new arena or they have demands. They feel like they're not getting their share. So they threaten to leave a place, trying to up the ante of what the city or the county or whatever the governing body is will do to sweeten the deal to make their lives easier.
This is the part of sports that I do follow. I do not really care who scored what, when and where, what they're known for. But when it's we are going to hold your city hostage and demand more money and resources from you, that's when I tune in.
Yeah. So that was happening here with the Penguins, who have always existed in Pittsburgh. Some cities, they have teams that existed other places beforehand. Not the case for us. The team was in kind of dire straits at the time. It was its own saga, but clearly the Penguins stuck around. And part of the deal to keep them here was acquiring the development rights to all of this land to do with what they want.
Which kind of sucked because if you look at the history of the Lower Hill, it used to be really full. And I know now, so many other neighborhoods, we're having conversations about how do we get more housing? How do we make affordable housing happen here?
Yeah, a huge chunk of that part of the neighborhood, the part closest to downtown, thousands of people lived there before the 50s and 60s. Starting in the late 50s, it was raised to make space for the Civic Arena. So that's the big building that preceded PPG Paints. Everyone seems to agree now that was kind of a crappy thing to do to everybody.
It really wiped out a very vibrant community.
It did. However, it is a super complicated history because a lot of that housing was in terrible shape. Lower Hill District leaders at the time, many of them were in favor of raising. But the housing was bad because the city had not invested in it for years and because of redlining and not allowing its residents to acquire generational wealth. So it is very complicated. And either way, I don't think the city of Pittsburgh comes out looking great no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the city doubles down, hands all the land that they weren't using at the time to the team. Since 2007, the Penns have promised a lot of things. There have been 1 million community meetings with folks representing the Lower Hill. They promised some stuff. They delivered on a portion of that stuff. So part of it was 1,400 units of housing and then 810,000 square feet for a whole bunch of stuff. So office space, retail, a hotel, a music venue, a food hall, several acres of green space for parks and things. They also said said they were going to renovate an old recreation center and start an art project honoring the hill's history.
So what did we actually get?
Delivered, yeah.
Yeah. I know we got the F&B tower, but what else?
Yes, and I actually don't know how much square footage is in the F&B tower. Like, it's tall, but it's not, the biggest one in the city by any stretch. That one was $300 million, built largely during the pandemic when, as we know, like, people weren't clamoring for office space, but it went up anyway. That opened in February. The music venue, the Live Nation space, like, it's under construction now. It's coming along. It's been slow. And the Penns are saying that they're still going to honor the renovation of the recreation center. But importantly, you may notice what was not on that list: no housing, which I would argue is the most important thing that the neighborhood has wanted for the last 60 years. There's this iconic old photo of a sign that they built right at the top of that part of the hill saying, like, no development beyond this point. This was back when it was raised, and begging for housing then. And a lot of people quoted more recently have been like, yeah, and that's still the ask. That is still we have not changed our message since the late 1950s. Just give us houses.
That makes a lot of sense. But like, now why are the Penns willing to give up the development rights?
I mean, gosh, extending the rights to the land would have cost the team a ton of money. One estimate said just shy of $1 million per year.
Oh, okay.
Which, like, they maybe would have been able to recoup in a different economy with different priorities. But, like, the team is not doing great for itself financially right now. They lost their TV contracts a few years ago. Like, we've talked about that a little on the show, that it's, like, more complicated to figure out where to watch a game, any any team. Mm-hmm. The team isn't winning like it used to. Everybody's kind of old. We love Sid, but, like, you're approaching 40, bud. And then the fans, like, aren't selling out the games. And then there's talk that they might get bought again here soon. Like, the team is a franchise. We're owned by Fenway Sports Group out of Boston. But there's a Chicago group right now, the Hoffman family companies, that allegedly have an offer on the table.
Wasn't Mario Lemieux also kind of trying to buy it back at some point?
He was part of that 2007 deal, actually. And there was, talk that, like, he's going to come in and save the team, save the franchise yet again. But they were the ones that sold to Fenway not that long ago. And Fenway's been pretty clear that we'll take on minority owners, or we need to make a lot of money for our very short-term investment. And the Hoffman family is, like, doubled what Fenway paid just a few years ago. So it's a more quote-unquote serious offer that hasn't been finalized. And it's not clear whether that's impacting these development right conversations. But, like, it's all happening at the same time.
Okay, but so, back to giving up these redevelopment rights, I saw a lot of headlines today, Thursday, that the Penn's rights just expired. They didn't try to extend them. So what happens now that we've hit that expiration date?
The ability to develop all of this goes back to the city. So specifically the Urban Redevelopment Authority and the Sports and Exhibition Authority coming back into play.
Our old friends from the whole abandoned boat situation.
Isn't this grand? They're losing a little bit of land on the North Shore. They are gaining the development rights to all this land in the Lower Hill. For what it's worth, advocates, Lower Hill residents, neighbors, folks have been so frustrated by the Penn's oversight for a long time. Like it or not, they are a for-profit entity, and, like, it is expensive to develop housing, and especially affordable housing, and there hasn't been incentives and things like that for them. So, like, it just hasn't come. They need housing. Hopefully the URA can help with that. And, all of this is, of course, happening as we're having all this conversation about inclusionary zoning or bonus incentive programs. Like, I think it is, like, sort of fascinating to look back at this in, like, 2 years and see, like, what will happen with the Lower Hill. Will they finally get what they've been asking for all this time?
Totally. Fingers crossed that the Lower Hill gets more housing soon. We'll definitely keep following this if there are updates. But for now, it is trivia time.
Yeah, so we're going to talk more about this in a minute here, but Pittsburgh now officially has a Walk of Fame. The first set of stars were unveiled in the Strip District this week. One of the first honorees was Michael Keaton, a.k.a. Beetlejuice, a.k.a. Batman. He attended the ceremony in person. But little known fact, Michael Keaton is actually his stage name. What is his real name?
I mean, I know this, but only because of these stories this week. So I'll hold my answer.
I have no idea, but I'm kind of shocked that he got to pick his own name and still stuck with Michael.
Sophia, rude. I'm sorry to all the Michaels out there.
It's just a very common name.
I will address that thought after the break.
CityCast Pittsburgh is sponsored by the Frick Pittsburgh Museum and Gardens. They just opened their latest exhibit, The Scandinavian Home, Landscape and Lore. I'm going to be honest, when I first heard that name, my mind jumped straight to IKEA furniture, but there will be no cardboard mountains or Allen wrenches if you visit the Frick. And the exhibit actually includes a lot more than furniture. You're going to get to peek at decor and folk art. Think ceramics, glass, paintings, textiles, sculptures even from Denmark and Norway, Sweden, and Finland. The Scandinavian Home has over 100 never-seen-before items from a private collector. So you'll be transported to a world where the domestic and the mythic meet. There are princesses, trolls, gnomes, a lot of fairy tale magic. It's all just so cozy and perfect for this time of year. The Scandinavian Home, Landscape and Lore is on view through January 11th, 2026. Perfect for your holiday plans. Get your tickets at thefrickpittsburgh.org. Today's episode is sponsored in part by Family House. For families traveling here for medical care, the cost of food is just another expense to worry about. But Family House's daily healthy breakfast program takes away some of that stress, while also providing a little connection. The program's available to all Family House guests, and it provides nourishing meals, a welcoming space, and the chance to meet others facing similar medical challenges. But the cost of this meal program is going up. Family House needs your help. Every donation helps keep breakfast and the support it provides available to those who need it most. You can give at familyhouse.org/donate and save the date for Family House's Day of Giving. It's December 2nd on Giving Tuesday. You know, Family House really is a home away from home for patients and caregivers here in Pittsburgh, and it's the preferred lodging partner for a lot of our healthcare systems here. So again, if you want to support their cause, head over to familyhouse.org/donate.
Okay, Megan, you said you know the answer. What is Michael Keaton's real name?
Well, first of all, Michael is his real name, so it's not like he was just pulling that out of thin air. Michael John Douglas is his name.
My first thought was John, another very generic name.
Yeah, so when he, was first starting out as an actor, there was already a Michael Douglas registered with the Screen Actors Guild, the famous Michael Douglas, and you can't have two people registered with that guild with the same name. So there's kind of been this lore that he opened a phone book to the K page and saw Keaton, and that's how he came up with it. But in a recent interview with People, he says he doesn't think that's right. He can't really remember. So it's not like some epic story, I guess, just randomly the name sounded good to him.
Man, I can't even name a pet or an inanimate object without putting deep, thoughtful meaning into it. And he's just whatever, I'll go by this for the rest of my life.
Although in that People article, that was him announcing he wants to go now by Michael Douglas Keaton.
Oh,
he
nice.
wants people to honor his original name in there.
Amazing.
I'm sorry, Michael, if you just really loved your first name and wanted to keep it. No shade to the name Michael. I just thought that, if you're going to pick your own actor name, you'd go with something more uncommon.
He could have also just changed up the spelling of Michael, which is going to become relevant in a moment here.
Okay, spoiler, Mallory. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Walk of Fame itself because it debuted this week. The Walk of Fame Foundation unveiled its inaugural set of 10 stars this week. I got to go down to the ceremony. It was beautiful. It was sunny. I was not in the sunny spot, and I was very cold the whole time. But let's be honest, I was there mostly to peep Michael Keaton because
so many other Pittsburghers, I'm sure.
Y'all, he was one of my first crushes. And I got to say, aging like fine wine, the suit, the sunnies, looking strong.
Personally, I do not see the appeal, but happy for you.
Listen, I've said it before. I will say it again. Our famous Pittsburgh men are really giving the city a good name. I think personally, we've got some lookers out there.
Thank you, Mallory. I appreciate that affirmation.
But so, of course, to earn this Walk of Fame star, Keaton is from Pittsburgh. Well, he's from outside of Pittsburgh. I have actually seen some people celebrating that this finally means that people that are from just outside of the city can claim themselves as Pittsburghers.
It's the Pittsburgh region. It qualifies.
There's an ongoing debate about if you're outside city limits, can you truly claim us? And this Walk of Fame seems to say yes.
Yeah, no, if you wear, we claim Snoop Dogg. He's not from here. He's just an enormous Steelers fan. Yes, welcome to all.
So he graduated from Montour High School. He lived
Keaton,
in Kennedy.
Michael Keaton, not Snoop Dogg.
Thank you for that important clarification. Michael Keaton graduated from Montour High School. He lived in Kennedy and Robinson townships. And one of his first jobs in film was actually on the crew of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which is the most wholesome origin story. He even once made an episode where he was part of a troupe of circus performers. It just keeps getting more wholesome.
Oh, that's fun.
I know. The photos from back then, if you Google it, it's really easy to find. Like, you can see him like standing among the crew as a very young person. Obviously, the beginning of a very long career. At the ceremony, they said he's been represented in over 100 films and TV series, like Mr. Mom way back in the day, Beetlejuice, Batman Returns, very important, Birdman, Spotlight, Dope Sick. He was incredible in that, like kind of playing like a Pittsburgh type person. I think he was actually set in West Virginia, though. Personally, my all-time favorite was him playing a political speechwriter back in I think it was the late 80s, early 90s, opposite Gina Davis. It was the cutest thing ever. I love a sappy rom-com.
I did not know he was in a rom-com. Again,
he's been in so many rom-coms.
Haven't watched a ton of movies.
Okay, you got to up your Pittsburgh film knowledge. None of these were set in Pittsburgh. I think it was set in the Southwest. Actually, Mallory, you might enjoy that aspect of it.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Speechless. So cute.
Well, other Walk of Fame inductees included George Benson, Nellie Bly, Andrew Carnegie, Rachel Carson, Roberto Clemente, Fred Rogers, of course. I think everyone knew he was going to make that list. Jonas Salk, Andy Warhol, and August Wilson.
I know there's going to be more and more rounds of nominations, and they're going to continue adding to the Walk of Fame. And so, I get that you've got to start with the biggest names, but I was hoping to see a few lesser known people on here, just because this does feel like such a rich opportunity for people to get to learn about Pittsburghers beyond the ones who always make these kind of lists.
Totally. And I mean, just from the strategy perspective, right? You had to have a big name living celebrity to get people like us invested and down there and get a lot of big attention for it. So yeah, I mean, that's what the organizer, Nancy Polinsky Johnson, told us when we talked to her back in the spring, that this is just hopefully the first of many rounds. It really is a culmination of a lot of work for her over the years. And also importantly, all from donations, sponsorships, no taxpayer money that I'm aware of. But I did want to talk through just a little bit of how the actual ceremony went down, because it was so full of cute Pittsburgh moments. So many people made the "it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood" joke just because of the sunshine. Mallory, you're making a face.
I'm rolling my eyes and smiling at the same time.
I know. That's the appropriate response. They made a big thing of going in birth order. So Keaton got to go last, which he seemed to think was great because 74 years young, I guess.
And that keeps everyone around. They'll stick around to the end to see Batman.
Honestly. But I mean, you read the list. Obviously, a lot of people who are not with us anymore, they have long ago passed away. So for those, the foundations or company heads or whatever, their children spoke. So the Carnegie Library director spoke for Andrew Carnegie. That was the very first star. Pointed to what he said is the most important part of the Carnegie legacy in the library spaces is the big sign outside so many of them that says "free to the people." I will say some low-key, possibly political messages in some of these speeches. So that was kind of the first one. It was all very Pittsburgh nice, but if you wanted to, you could very easily read between the lines. A bunch of them talked about how the person is still relevant today. So Rachel Carson, for example, her book Silent Spring, and how it influenced the very creation of the Environmental Protection Agency.
Rachel Carson decried the arrogant view that science and technology were means to conquer nature. Instead, she directed us to regard nature and its invincible laws with humility and wonder.
So important.
The Andy Warhol Museum director talked about how Warhol was the prototype for how we all now document ourselves 24/7, carrying around phones and whatever.
That makes me feel less warm about his legacy personally.
I mean, he was talking about for example, he said he sees so many people coming into the museum space and they're so skeptical. It's the young person in their lives that drags them there. But then, he'll watch them while they're at the museum and they'll see some piece of themselves reflected in Warhol's work. That could be about something in Pittsburgh or a personality trait. Warhol was just so open and loved to interrogate things. And there's always some element of that.
Yeah, I think this is my favorite museum I've been to that's been dedicated to like one person, especially since there are so many floors. Like I was really shocked to see like his huge variety of work. He has a lot of range.
My father actually was exactly that human. So skeptical walking in, had a blast.
Though I do think that like my takeaway when I left the museum was he would actually hate the fact that the museum and his name is in Pittsburgh and not New York City.
I don't know. Warhol's nephew was there and like really like went out of his way to be like, you know, he left Pittsburgh, but like it never left him. And I think he would be really proud. Like I spent a lot of time with my uncle. This guy's name is Donald Warhola, of course, because Warhol changed his name. But he said, I think my uncle would be really proud that Pittsburgh honors him and tries to keep this legacy alive.
Oh, that's really nice to hear.
That's actually a separate thing, maybe. I hadn't really thought about how this ceremony would bring so many famous Pittsburgh children back to town as grown adults. Donald's a nephew, but still, like, you get what I mean? Like, Jonas Salk's son, Peter, talked about his legacy as the creator of the first polio vaccine. We talked about that on an old pod a couple years ago. But, like, I mean, just step back and imagine here, like, as a child, a small child, Peter was one of the first people that the vaccine was ever tested on. And now he teaches in that same school at the University of Pittsburgh where his dad was.
That is very cool.
Fred Rogers' sons, John and James, were also there.
Which I actually didn't realize that he had his own children. I just always kind of felt like we are all the children of Mr. Rogers.
I mean, I think Fred would actually like that based on everything I've learned about him since living here. But they invited people to do that thing that Rogers always did and did very famously when he was presented a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Emmys back in 1997. No shade to his sons, but actually I think it's worth playing the original clip.
So many people have helped me to come to this night. Some of you are here. Some are far away. Some are even in heaven. All of us have special ones who have loved us into being. Would you just take, along with me, 10 seconds to think of the people who have helped you become who you are? Those who have cared about you and wanted what was best for you in life. 10 seconds of silence. I'll watch the time.
So we won't hang for the whole 10 seconds, but like, it's just, of course, Fred Rogers uses this moment for a Lifetime Achievement Award to make everyone else in the room feel loved. Like that crowd was crying. Like there's so many close shots during that ceremony of people just losing it in that moment.
That is really sweet. I had no idea that he did that.
Every time I hear him speak or like old footage of him speaking, I just think about how desperately he's needed in our world right now.
And I mean, thanks to the enduring power of WQED, he can still be used and watched. And we have Daniel Tiger as well. Back to the kids. Roberto Clemente's sons came back to town. They said they still consider Pittsburgh their home. And I think this was his son, Luis.
We truly believe that this city is the home of champions, yes. But today is the city of superstars and stars. We are very proud that this is our home. But Puerto Rico, obviously, is what Roberto Clemente was born. But today, he's a Puerto Rican Yinzer forever. Thank you very much.
Puerto Rican Yinzer, I love that.
Yeah, right. And then, you know, as we're talking about the Hill District, one of its most beloved sons ever, August Wilson, is on that list. His daughter and his wife were there, but his daughter Costanza read a poem that he wrote about Pittsburgh. It's called Old Things, and I think it's worth hearing in its entirety.
The bridge where I sit shakes as the buses roll over it. Around me, the hills, frantic with houses. The hills rising above the river. Hills nippled with houses. As though I returned, as easily these things come back. Old things, without a stitch in time, but somewhere echoed on the nerve. Come to tell the garden is burning, the cauldron boiling. Come to add to the brute spectacle of things on the heart. Things hidden over, covered with the visage of the city. Rivers, hills with houses, bridges stretched from point to point. Old bridges that shake and creak in the sun. We are what we are made by old things, come back clearly, brilliant as the sun.
This is beautiful. I love this so much. I think this poem should get played, dropped in anytime an article references us as like the gritty steel city instead.
You just want that to like autoplay in people's ears.
Yeah. I'm tired of like reading articles when everyone's like, remember when Pittsburgh was like polluted and stinky?
Well, August Wilson did, and he still loved us anyway. But he was also, I mean, we should say, like, amazing at pointing out our flaws as well. The two living inductees, George Benson, he sang on a video call. He wasn't able to join in person, but they had some clips of him. They were very fun.
Of course, famous jazz performer.
Yeah. And then Michael Keaton, of course, took the opportunity, I think this is perfect, to make fun of his brothers, saying thank you to the ones who flew him from Florida and California, and then not so gently ribbing the one that, like, traveled all the way from McKees Rocks. And fans all around were just like hooting and hollering the whole time. Like folks that had been quiet for the entire ceremony, the moment Michael Keaton came up to the stage, were just screaming Michael and clapping. And he was very generous and like waved to everybody and clapped and said, thank you so much.
Honestly, this is one of the greatest days of my life. I love places like this, but I especially love this, my hometown. I love these immigrant cities. The entire country is a country of immigrants, and my own family looks like the UN, and I'm so proud of it.
Yeah, Megan, I see what you mean about you could read some political messaging into some of these speeches if you wanted to.
Yeah, just knocking on the door. Again, I think pretty Pittsburgh nice, but I mean, Keaton, for his part, he said like he was just overwhelmed to be included in such an extraordinary list, and that he's based a ton of characters over the years on the memories and the experiences that he had here, and the people he knew and loved, and that you never really leave Pittsburgh. Quote, they shaped who I am and you carry that with you.
Oh, that's nice. Maybe this will convince me to watch like more of his movies, and I will guess at what Pittsburgh thing he was inspired by.
I mean, once again, I will recommend Dope Sick. So sad, but whoa, that is a Pittsburgh portrayal.
I also, I expressed a little skepticism before about like, of course, it's the big names. It's the people who always get honored. I really had not thought about this being a really like unique opportunity to bring all of their descendants, their family, or in Keaton's case, his own self, like together in one space.
Me either.
And it's made me appreciate it differently and feel like a little more bummed out that I couldn't make it, because this sounds like something really special that I don't know that there's been another opportunity for something like this to really celebrate the brilliant people that Pittsburgh has produced.
And Mallory, you're one of them. You're from here too.
Nominate me. New nominations open in January. Just kidding.
Yeah, actually, I will back up and say like one of the requirements is not just that you're Pittsburgh famous, but that you have meant something to the city in like an international way. Like helped put Pittsburgh on the map. So keep that in mind as they consider new people in the months and years to come. One teeny tiny cloud on the day, so to speak. After everything was said and done, people were taking pictures of the stars on the ground there at the terminal building in the Strip District. Some eagle eyes noticed that on like the second or third reference of Michael Keaton's name in the actual star inlaid into the sidewalk, it's misspelled. The A and the E in Michael are transposed.
Womp, womp.
Such a bummer.
I think it's right, like the text under the star. So the star itself looks great, but then if you keep reading about his life story, you run into some trouble.
Yeah, I think that this is so fun. The organizer, Nancy, she said she was just mortified that she was a magazine publisher for years. She like proofed copy all the time. This is like, and there were a lot of people that looked at it, but she was like, this is my bad ultimately.
She's got a good attitude about it, though. I also say that she's kind of like been like, at least, this is giving this another couple days of press.
Yes. She also said to one outlet that her son's name is Michael, and she's been doing this for years with her own child, and she's so embarrassed.
Next time I don't catch a typo in our newsletter, I'll just know I'm in great company.
Honestly. Anyway, the star itself is obviously huge and expensive, and now they have to fix the sidewalk. She said it's probably going to take 1 or 2 months to replace, but it has already been ordered. So look out for that in the near future, and maybe she gets a couple more days of press out of it when it happens.
Maybe Michael Keaton comes back.
Hey, who knows? Okay, time for a shout out from a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor.
Yes, we have a shout out coming in from Chris G. He is shouting out the University of Pittsburgh Center for Sustainable Business. When he wrote in, he said they are developing resilience resources that hundreds of local leaders have already benefited from in these disruptive times. Thank you, Chris, so much for sharing. If you want to share your favorite local business or nonprofit on the podcast, that's one of the perks you get when you become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. We'll read it right here. Plus, it'll be in our newsletter. You can sign up at membership.citycast.fm. And I will also be looking out for shout outs from all of those neighbors who attended our event at Iron City Distilling, because a lot of you had great recommendations. Send them to us. We'll read them right here.
Yes, we had a neighbors only event touring Iron City Distilling earlier this week. Such a great opportunity to meet and connect with a bunch of you. And if you want to be on the invite list for our next neighbors only event, definitely sign up now to become a neighbor at membership.citycast.fm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed all of the little tidbits we learned. Like, I feel like Iron City went out of its way to be like, just so you know, we make our beer with city water, not with the Allegheny, which was just like, got it, not river water, sweet. And our neighbors are just like so funny and clever. Like, one fella shouted out Tim during our tour. He was like, so with the icy mango, do y'all use locally grown mangoes? Like, because they were like giving all their bona fides for like why it's a local product.
Yeah, no, I was really surprised for like the distilling portion, how much local stuff they use, like local grains. That I was like less surprised by, but they wanted their barrels to be local wood, but they don't make the barrels themselves, so they ship the local wood out to somewhere. I think it was in West Virginia.
West Virginia, yeah.
So that's real dedication.
Pennsylvania oak traveling, like harvested here, travels to West Virginia, comes back. Like each one of those barrels, they said, is worth $10,000, and then it has to sit for years to mature. That is so much money sitting up there by the river.
Yeah, and they offer regular tours of their space. So if you didn't make it to the neighbor event, you can go check one out on your own. Also want to welcome our newest neighbor, David W. Thank you for joining the family, and we really hope to see you at the next event.
For sure. So now it's time for a thing to know, a win, a loss. I think we might have a bonus round too. Sophia, you want to kick us off with a thing to know?
Yes, it is airport auction time. Yay! Get people's lost stuff. So the preview is actually today from 1 to 5 p.m., but you don't need to go in person to place a bid because all of the bidding is actually happening online. We'll have a link in the show notes if you want to peruse.
That's so great. I'm glad they moved to online.
Yeah, and in case you're like, wait, what is this? This is where the airport every year auctions off like items that have been left behind, forgotten, so that people can bid on them.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff from like lost and found. So think jewelry. There are a lot of like iPhones, tablets, Apple Watches.
So many Apple products. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then they also do decommissioned airport equipment and vehicles. They aren't auctioning off any abandoned cars this year. In the past, they've like done cars from like their parking lots, but they have airport snow plows. So City of Pittsburgh, go make your bids. Get us snow plows.
That's such a good point, Sophia.
Bidding has like a soft end on Monday at 5, and like a soft end means you can keep bidding and upping the price. So I'm a little confused by that deadline, but the pickup is next Wednesday. So I guess that is your final call. There are 2 locations for pickup, so make sure you're showing up to the right place if you win a bid. And they also have another company handling shipping in case, you know, your out of town friend really wants like a bunch of iPads that may have like a cracked screen.
Incredible. Well, I mean, I feel like looking at this list is like a time-honored tradition here at this point on CityCast. I'm curious if anything struck your eye, something you would absolutely love to have. I know you're not going to actually do it though, Sophia, because you hate the airport and won't travel out there.
I do hate the airport. I have a big question for the people who organize the airport auction. Why aren't the empty sunglasses cases just trashed? They're empty. Who is bidding on these? Why? There are also sunglasses you can bid on, and like you get
some of them are nice. Like they have a whole tray of Ray-Bans, for example. But I don't know that I'd call it a discount price.
I guess that very much depends on how high the bidding goes. But like, are they taking the sunglasses out and just like separating them from their cases? I don't get it.
No. I mean, at least if the AirPods, for example, are any indication, if they can find the match, they keep the match. But if they can't, then they get separated. So like, for example, there are like 2 or 3 box loads of just random AirPods, no case, just pods that are like hanging out.
AirPods. Yeah.
Loose AirPods.
The whole just like these boxes of items made me laugh. Like there is a box you can bid on of just random charging cables, which I feel like all of us have that random box somewhere in our house that we are trying to get rid of. I am not trying to acquire a bunch more random cords.
If you are a Stan, like, you know, those big fancy cup things, or Yeti or whatever, they have a bunch of those. I think I saw like you could get like 9 or 10 Stanleys in different colors for less than $70, which is actually a decent deal.
I think that's how much like one Stanley costs.
I know.
Probably not quite that much, but.
Yeah, I know. And then just give them out to sanitize them and give them out to your friends. They also had decent deals on strollers and wheelchairs and walking canes, but which can be very hard to acquire. So first of all, I hope somebody who needs it gets it. But if they don't, I hope they donate that to organizations that could use it. Because like finding a good wheelchair or a walking cane can be really difficult sometimes.
I also noticed that there were a number of pet carriers. I really hope that like the pets made it home with their rightful people, even if the carriers didn't. That one had me a little concerned.
Anyway, go check it out for yourself. We'll have a link in the show notes.
So moving on to our win, Allegheny County Executive Sarah Innamorato, she started this initiative last June. It's called 500 and 500. So the idea was to get 500 people permanent housing in 500 days and in affordable units.
Meaning like by affordable, meaning like for people making well under the area median income, which for the city of Pittsburgh, I think is about $36,000.
Right.
For the county, It might be slightly under. Anyway, it's in that range and under.
Yeah. And I think the goal was really getting people out of homeless shelters into more stable housing.
And we did it. She did it. Innamorato declared victory. So the numbers, according to her press release, October 18th was that 500th day. And the statistics are 622 people were housed, and then 586 affordable units were identified. Some of those are still under construction, and then 83 people are still currently moving into new housing.
And 83, I think those are in addition to the 622 people that are already housed at this point.
Yeah, I think, and if those numbers like don't match, it's because sometimes like somebody stays there for a little while and then they're able to move on. So like that's why you often have more people than units.
Yeah, and I assume some people are also maybe moving in together. So lots of different reasons. But the county did this in a bunch of different ways. One way was just working to repair empty units that had, just not really been livable before this. And the county also worked with different groups like government, private landlords to give people leaving shelters like a sort of first look at open apartments and just sort of lessen some of the barriers for people with housing vouchers. And then they used new tech to match people with the right space. I'm a little unclear about what this tech is like. I'm thinking really in-depth BuzzFeed quiz. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I think I went more millennial and imagined like eHarmony for unhoused people, which like just that, please don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, I am sure it is not those things, but I'm with you, Sophia. I would love to know what technology they're using to just make all of this more efficient.
But like at the end of the day, basically the county just made new relationships to get things working and sort of streamlined complicated processes. And I saw WSA reported that the county's director of housing strategy said they'll be keeping these processes and relationships open. All of the things that made these new housing units available will keep going. So hopefully more affordable housing to come.
Yeah, which is going to be so much more important because of what we're talking about next. We're not going to have SNAP benefits in the month of November because of the government shutdown.
Yeah, so of course, this is a food assistance program. About 2 million Pennsylvanians across the state rely on SNAP benefits and about 300,000 people here in our region. And so important things to know, if you are on SNAP and you have unused funds, you can still use those, but you won't be getting new money in November. The November benefits will come through after the shutdown ends, but of course, we don't know when that is going to happen. When stories like this come up, I feel like it's really important to point to resources where people who need assistance can get it. One Hood Power has a really great Instagram post that we will link in our show notes that has compiled some resources and free food distribution events around the city and around our region. There is at least one every day in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Lesbian Correspondence also has a great list, so we will make sure those are both accessible in our show notes.
And we also have a list of organizations providing food and also taking donations on our website. That's pittsburgh.citycast.fm. Also will be in the show notes too.
And we will end with what I'll call a goofier loss. Mallory, your boy, is getting engaged again. Like, I think this is sad news for you.
Yes, because if this girl weren't on the scene, somehow I might end up engaged to Joe Manganiello.
In case you missed it, another person born here in Pittsburgh claims this all the time. Actor Joe Manganiello is engaged to a local girl, actress Caitlin O'Connor.
He announced this on Instagram with a picture of Bubbles the dog, who I've been informed is also an Instagram star. The dog does not look like she wants to be there, but I also don't know how to read like bugged out Chihuahua eyes, so maybe she's happy for her parents. I don't know.
Okay, I didn't see this post, but if his idea of a dream dog is a Chihuahua with bugged out eyes, then we are not a match, and this news is less devastating to me. Apologies to all the Chihuahua fans out there.
I don't know. I feel like that's exactly probably his personality. I'm judging that entirely based on some of the characters that he's played, that he has at one point or another said, I based that on somebody I knew in Pittsburgh, which seems to come up for him a lot.
Him and Keaton both, I guess.
You are what you know.
And Megan, you mentioned that Caitlin O'Connor is local. She's from Uniontown. And actually, earlier this year, she was inducted into the Uniontown High School Hall of Fame, which surprised me. I didn't know high schools had a Hall of Fame. Is this a thing around here?
I mean, I think if you have someone famous enough, they'll make one for you, right?
That's true. That's true. I guess no one famous came from my high school then. Oh, well.
I also think a lot of this has to do with sports, right? Like Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania are like sports powerhouse programs. So like there have been a lot of people that have made it to like the NBA, the NHL, especially the NFL. Like I get how that might have come to fruition.
And before we go, we have a favor to ask you, our listeners. We are going to be rounding up ideas for the best Pittsburgh-themed Halloween costumes on a show next week, and we would love to take your suggestions. So if you have an idea for a Pittsburgh Halloween costume, or if you have dressed as some kind of iconic Pittsburgh person or landmark, please call the Halloween costume hotline at 412-212-8893. If you need any inspiration, we have seen before the butthole window as a costume. I'm sure people have dressed up as the sinkhole bus.
Yes, I have seen so many great examples of this. I think one of my favorites ever that I'll talk more about some other stuff next week, but like one dressed up as the Liberty Bridge on fire, and when she raised her underarms, the fire was there, like under her sweater. It was just, there's so much glorious creativity and satire in the city, and we want to capture some of it. So send us your best. You can call or text. Humans are not going to respond to you. But we may use what you submit on a show.
And one more time, that number is 412-212-8893.
That is all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. Our music is by Benji, All the Kimonos, The Verge, House of Say, Bagel, and River Run Dry, with additional music from epidemicsound.com. Mallory Falk is our executive producer. Sophia Lo, Elizabeth Kama, and Zoe Colkin produced the show this week. Francesca DeBecco and Natalia Aldana wrote our newsletter. I am your host, Megan Harris. We will be back on Monday with more from around the city. Have a great weekend, y'all.
Wait, is it your friend who was the butthole window? No, you just know someone.
Oh, no, I think he's Instagram famous. He belongs to everyone.